All right, so this is part 7 of how to write your analysis essay. And I went back to look at theme and I made another slide to show you guys another example of how you could write your thesis. So you completed worksheet 2 and you came up with all of your literary elements that you think you saw a lot in that passage. And then you chose the ones that you thought were the best, and those are the ones you're really going to focus on in your essay. And then you wrote your theme right here that you wrote, and you're thinking about your passage, you're thinking about the novel, and then this is going to be the thesis of your essay. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee uses character, setting, and imagery to show that growing up means that the world is a dangerous place and we need to learn to count on our friends. So this is if you choose to use 3 different literary elements. Another thing you can also do, and I did that here, is you can focus on one literary element. So this is, and you could do this with symbolism or you could do this with character. So, and you can choose whatever characters are present maybe in your passage or what symbols you think are present in your passage, whatever it happens to be. So this one we have characters, and I chose 3 different characters, and this is how your thesis would read. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee uses the characters of Cecil Jacobs, Mrs. DeBose, and Aunt Alexandria to show that growing up means learning that even people with bad traits have good in them. And once again, I intentionally wrote a weak or bad theme here so you would not copy me. You're supposed to be creative and do your own. This is just an example. So this is your theme from up on the worksheet. Up on, let's see, it was number 3 on the worksheet. You can't see it on here. So you're supposed to write your theme, and now your theme is the same thing that's written down here. And you find your literary elements, and you can do 3 examples of one literary element. So this is 3 characters. Or you can do 3 different literary elements. So either one is fine. Now you need to gather evidence, and that means quotes from the novel. This is where I was before. So here's the thesis. This is the same thing from number 5. So like this right here, I put in that box right here. So in To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee uses the characters of Boo Radley, Bob Ewell, as well as setting and imagery to show that growing up means learning that the world is a dangerous place and we need to learn to count on our friends. And then I'm going to take those literary elements. So the characters of Bob Ewell, Boo Radley, that was the first literary element. And then setting, that's the second literary element. And then the third literary element is imagery. And I put that right here. Now, in these sections, you're going to put literary evidence. And literary evidence means quotes from the novel. And quotes are not just things that the character said. It's also narration, so things the narrator says. Anything that's in the novel that you pull out is a quote from the novel. So the same thing that we did when we were making that Atticus's Life Lessons poster, you're supposed to be pulling quotes that are evidence of this particular thing. So if you're trying to say that that growing up means learning that the world is a dangerous place and we need to count on our friends. So how does Boo Radley show us that? And where are some places in the book where he shows us that? And so you need to pull out your novel and you need to look through your novel and you need to find some quotes in the novel where you think Boo Radley is showing us that. You need to look through your novel and you need to find places where the setting is showing us that. And it doesn't have to be just from that passage, but it's good if it's from that passage. And because remember, you're supposed to be focusing on that passage analysis. So for each one of your major points, for each one of your literary elements, you're supposed to be looking for examples of 3 literary elements. So, you're supposed to be finding 3 quotes from the novel to support it. Now, on the second part of this worksheet, and you can't see it on the slide, it says elaboration. And that's where you explain your literary element, and you explain the quote, and you explain why it's important and what it shows or teaches. So to complete worksheet number 3, what you need to do is you need to write the literary elements that you're focusing on here. Then you need to find quotes from the novel that show how these characters or this setting or this symbol or whatever it is relate to your theme. And then you need to explain it. So you have your quote here, and then in the next box down, so like the number 1 here matches the number 1 in the elaboration section, you explain how that quote shows that character and relates to the theme. And that is how you fill out worksheet number 3. So pause the video is almost over, and complete worksheet number 3. Go!